welcome back to our second episode of The Preacher and the Cowboy. This particular episode is kind of out of my wheelhouse. I don't really know much about it, but Robin, he knows a lot about it. It's really about his life story. So this is going to be more personal for him. And we're going to be looking at DNA testing and what does it mean and how that affected his life. But I'm going to be asking some poignant questions, and I'm probably going to get on his nerves, but I'm going to ask some questions that I want him to answer about some things he tells me about his discovery about who he is.
All right. So, welcome back. As you know, I'm Robin. I always wear a cowboy hat. That's kind of like how I roll. So we're gonna have a little discussion today about DNA and having a non-parental experience. And what that means for those who may not know is that kind of self-explanatory, but when you find out that the person who you thought was your biological parent turns out not being the case at all. And in my case, it was a little bit more convoluted. I had I submitted my DNA back in 2019 just to find out the ethnic background, the ethnic breakdown as to how much I was of this ethnicity and that ethnicity, and so just to back up a little bit farther, I was given up for adoption, ended up in an orphanage, name got changed somehow, and ended up in a foster home, and then there, as I got a little bit older, I'm looking at me, I can see what I look like, and I'm looking at everybody else in the household, and I don't look anything like these people. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I was too young to really, understand what was going on. I just knew that something wasn't right here.
Yeah.
Well, I just knew that I was different, I guess would be the best way of putting it. And then as I got a little bit older, there's things that my foster mother had said, you're an illegitimate kid. Well, she didn't use that term. It was like, you're a little bastard. Things like that. And then there were other things that she said as I was growing up. And then, so then I kind of knew that, okay, this isn't cool. So at the age of, I believe, 10 years old, between 8 or 10, this family showed up. And this gentleman, him and his wife and their kids were visiting a neighbor. And I got called down there by the neighbor because obviously she was on good terms with my foster mom. And these people, they were beautiful. And I looked like them. They were very fair complected, things like that. And the one guy says, well, I'm your uncle. I'm your dad.
Well, is this a real uncle? I see. That's why.
Well,
that's where the story gets all complicated.
Okay, that's the beginning. That's trust me. There's more. Okay.
So, but okay, let's cut.
Well, this leads up to the
okay, but let's cut for a minute. Just the story.
Mm-hmm.
The people that say look like you, after everything was all said and done, you discovered who you really were and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell my story. Were they related to you? Were they related to you?
Okay.
These people. Can you answer that one question?
We'll get to that.
Was those people related
we'll
to you?
Get to that.
See, because then that gives me kind of a doubt of like you just fit people into your life where you really, and that's becomes the question of does DNA really matter? Because you said these people, they look kind of like you because they're light skinned.
Yeah, they did. But no, okay, so let me tell the story.
So the point was that were they related to you?
I will keep it concise and we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay. So,
and if they weren't related to you, then you was kind of like, it's like.
Okay, so here's what happened, right?
Okay.
So, and I'll try to keep this real brief. So, bottom line was, he said that I was his uncle, right? And he wanted to get me for the summer, and my foster mom wasn't having it. Well, that itself lit a spark, because now I knew I belonged to someone else.
Yes.
Okay, and so.
Now, did your? Sorry for keeping. But did your I don't know. I'm gonna tell your story, but I'm sitting here. I'm having questions in your story, and I'm sure if I have questions, people online will have questions. Did your the woman who raised you?
Mm-hmm.
Did she ever tell you flat out that you were adopted, or you just knew?
Oh, she did. She did tell me that.
From a very young age.
She told me, this is what she told me, because I had asked, actually not at that particular point in time, but I did ask how they end up here. And she says, well, I saw you. You're walking down. So some women had you by the hand, and you were crying, and she was looking for another child because they had a child that they had adopted, a sister, and they wanted to have a little brother for her. So it's kind of like, you go to the pet store and you find a little puppy, and that's it. So I ended up in her home, to make a long story short. So, but when the uncle showed up, right, I felt like I had found my family.
Okay,
so that lit the spark.
But did she tell you before uncle or after uncle that you were adopted?
I think it was before.
Because
I knew she wasn't my mother.
And that's why I want to know, how did you know she wasn't your mother?
Well, if you looked at her and you looked at me, something was off. Complexion, everything. Okay.
But there's some kids.
How did I know?
Yes. How did you know?
There's this internal thing that you just.
So
know.
you before she said anything to you, you knew that.
I knew that something wasn't right. I didn't know how to articulate it because I was a kid, but I knew deep down this don't look right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was my question.
I'm not saying that everybody was evil or they had issues no. I had a problem with her because of the way she treated me.
Yeah.
Okay. But that being said, so then there was this whole thing that little spark because now I wanted to find the rest of my family.
Yeah.
Right? My biological family. So my uncles and that side of the family would have been my dad, and then I searched because I had written documentation. Who's this? A birth certificate that had this woman's name on it, right? It was Mary Purcell.
Yeah.
So I started searching, right? And I had the help of the minister of the church I went to and a couple other people from the church. And at one, to make a long story short, I made contact with these two families who lived in the same small town about 30 miles away. Okay? And then formed a relationship that went on for a good 30-some years, maybe.
Yeah.
I finally tracked down, when I got out of the Navy, and I finally was able to track down this woman who I thought was my mom. And then another number of years, I had to wait to have a connection with my half-sister, the girl I thought was my half-sister. So then, moving forward, so I established a good relationship with them for years. She thought I was her son. I'm thinking she's mom. Treat her like a queen, like a...
Okay, now, just before, because we're on a podcast and people are going to be listening to it here and there, and they're like, well, what happened? So was those people that you went and you called your cousin, nephew, your uncle, were they related to you?
Allow me to get to that.
Oh my God, okay.
We got 25 minutes. We got time.
Okay. I was just saying.
Yeah.
Because that brings up other questions that
it brings up a ton of questions.
If they weren't really your relatives, then.
But they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
when I went and met my uncle and and my uncles, the surviving brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you saw them and you saw me, it was like, yeah, they're the same family. Right? So, and the woman, and their mom was still alive. So she would have been my grandmother, beautiful woman, great person, and I'm thinking, and she just took me in her arms like, you're my lost grandchild, So it was beautiful. And I thought for decades, and I thought, okay, I got my family. So this is what leads up to the DNA. So here I am, many years later, I'm teaching. Fortunate enough, I have a teaching position, and I'm teaching criminal justice, and I'm teaching forensics. So, in 2017 or 2015, somewhere around there, I gave a DNA sample. DNA sample to the Genome Project with National Geographic, because in one of the sections in my forensics course was we covered DNA, right?
Yeah.
That's used in criminal investigations. So I said, it's good to know how far your DNA goes back. Well, mine went as far back as 65,000 years in the haplogroup number 2, which is in Africa. Okay, and just about everybody started. right? As far as I can.
Well,
honestly
I mean, I have questions about that.
Okay,
I mean,
I
that,
know.
that database
Okay,
whole system
I know,
and
'cause
stuff.
that's where you are.
Well, I mean, that's right.
Okay,
Because
we'll do that. We'll touch on it, and I'll allow you to
okay,
ask
but
those
I just
questions.
it's just like okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to keep this as concise because this could be a 2-hour segment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to speed you up because
No,
there's a
no.
lot of things you just boom, 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 and I've asked you some poignant questions.
But
you can bullet point this and people understand where your story.
Well, I think they would understand if you would let me say it.
All right, go ahead. I'm just, but
So,
questions come up.
Okay, so just hold on. If a question comes up, hold on to it, okay? And there'll be plenty of time, I promise. So, moving along, I found that, like I said, my DNA is 65,000 years old. I'm a part of that group, blah, blah, blah. And then 2019, it's, the thing is I've always wondered, did I ever complete the search, right? Have all the dots been dotted? Have all the T's? Because I'm just habitually curious, okay? And so I wanted, one of the reasons I did the DNA, because to be honest with you, I felt kind of confident as to who I was.
Yeah.
And my biological family, so to speak. And so I just wanted to know what was the actual breakdown, even though there's still something nagging, something's missing. So I did the DNA, I did the ancestry test because I wanted to know exactly what the breakdown was. Now you can understand the woman I thought was my mom was German Irish, right? Mm-hmm. And then my dad was African American. Okay. So I knew how that was supposed to look, generally speaking. So when I did the DNA, 6 or 7 weeks later, I get the response back, and it's nothing what I thought it should be. There was a lot of Italian.
Yeah.
And had no idea that I was part Italian. I'm like, where did this come back? Somebody was having fun out behind the pizza joint. Okay. But that explains why I could wear Italian clothes. It explains why I loved Italian food always, because it's in my DNA. But I took this test in 2019, and there were no matches with the people with similar last names.
Well, you know me, the statement you said, like, does DNA really dictate what kind of food you like?
I'm just saying, no, I'm not saying that with any certainty. I'm just saying,
Okay.
It's a coincidence.
Okay.
Okay. That I'm Italian.
Okay.
Okay. It turns out I'm Italian. Okay. So, does that have any relevance to whether I enjoy Italian? Probably not, because I had lived in Italy when I was in the military.
Yeah.
I loved Italian food.
Okay.
I could wear Italian clothes because I was skinny, so it worked. Okay?
Yeah.
No. Does it have any relevance to the DNA? I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. So, but that being said, I did the test, and here it goes. Italian. Now, there's some German in there, because I have a grandmother who's German, who's married to my grandfather who's Italian.
Yeah.
Right, on my mom's side. And then the African part makes a lot of sense, okay? Nigerian, Benin, a number of African countries, I think there's some Senegal in there, and some people from the Ivory Coast. I could look it up and give you the breakdown.
But that's a good question.
But the crazy part about, go ahead, ask a question.
So, because I'm Afrocentric, because I'm Afro.
Well, yeah, we've established that.
So you broke down your European ancestry pretty clear, right? But then you.
No, I didn't. I just said Italian.
You said Italian, German.
There's
right?
some German, yeah.
There's some German in it.
And I just said there's Nigerian, Benin, right?
Yes, some Benin.
Yeah.
And then you said some other stuff that I could do some. And then you said I could do some more research about it. So I mean, have you ever been curious about the African side?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I'm 14% Nigerian. Okay.
Okay.
I don't hide that fact.
I'm just curious because because a lot of people like, and this is true in most African American families. This is like if we're all mixed race pretty much. If you're African American, you're
mixed race
because you either the slave master raped your mom or daddy's, whatever. However all that happens,
right.
Whatever. And then there's the other kind of miscegenation, but happens. But it seems like to me they always stress everybody, like if you're African, they stress whatever's not African. So like for many black people, they'll say, "Oh, I got so much Indian in me. I'm Native American."
Yeah,
but the indigenous people of America were from Africa. So people are stressing things that seem to delegitimize their Africanness part of
Well,
it.
I don't.
So
I don't. I don't
so
see
that's
it
why
that way.
that's why I was just curious
Okay, yeah.
and I asked you that
Okay,
question.
yeah,
And so-
and that to me is it's a viable question. Okay, I don't have a problem with that,
Yeah.
and I do respect that.
Yes.
But no, if I'm trying, if you're saying that I am,
No, I'm just asking a question. I mean, and
but it's a good question.
reality,
I'm a little white and
does
a little too white for your comfort. But that's okay.
does the DNA test really? Did it really? I mean, it changed.
All it does.
It changed your outlook on life, but did it change
Who I am?
how you are and how you live?
Not really, because I always felt different.
Yeah.
Okay, I always felt that way because I never felt like I was wholly in one group or wholly in the other group. Okay, and I have, growing up, I've experienced racism from both sides. Okay, from whites, being called the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, but actually I think in some cases I've experienced more of it from the black side. Because
Well, I mean, technically, experience racism. You can experience bigotry.
oh, well, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Yes.
So bigotry.
And again, that always seems to be the case in this current environment. It's like, okay, I experienced it from white people, but just because I want to be universally fair, I also experienced it from black people.
But I'm not saying that to be.
But the reality of the fact is,
I'm not doing that to be universally fair. I'm stating a fact.
well,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
okay, okay, all right.
And there were times in my life where and I grew up in a mixed community. Okay, not predominantly black.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a racially diverse community. We had Irish. No, well, we had Italian. We had Polish. We had blacks. We had Puerto Ricans. We didn't have no
Okay,
Mexicans.
but what was your point of telling me that?
Why?
Yeah. What's your point?
Your point is.
No, what's
that
your
my
point of telling me
is
that? Yes.
you're trying to say that I can't remember now.
I'm just,
I just lost my thought.
my whole point is, I think your DNA story is fascinating, but it's just some things that.
But it's not about race for me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about race for me. Okay,
Yeah.
let's make sure that's understood.
Okay. All right.
But like to answer that one question, I never felt like I was completely part of either group.
Yeah.
But that being said,
as someone who knows your story, but just by looking at your story, listening to your story, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing like all the finer details of
Right.
your story or your life, but just by looking at it, it seemed to me that it was the African American part of society that embraced you the most because it was an African American woman who raised you. So
yeah, but how she raised me is a question.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. How she raised? Okay. Yeah. I don't want to get into that.
All right,
But okay.
That's another story.
But it seems like to me, in general, when it comes to caring for people, African American people extend themselves to a point where and I know DNA, and knowing who you are matters. Yeah, but I would it just seemed to me, I don't know, it was like de-emphasizing.
No,
the
but I'm
importance of that.
I'm not de-emphasizing anything on that regard.
Okay.
So anyway,
Yeah.
get back to where we're at.
Okay.
So I did the DNA, and like I said, to get the ethnicity breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I have that down. But the shocker was, which we call a non-parental experience, is that now I spent decades thinking this one family, to answer your question, that my uncles,
Mm-hmm.
right, and that the woman on the white side of my family, my mother, who happened to be Caucasian,
Yeah.
turns out I'm not related to them at all.
See, and that's why I'm saying that this whole DNA thing, like, so.
But why is that a problem?
So the relationship you set up in the context, I mean, it in a sense, it fulfilled your desire to belong, right? So
it filled my desire to find my tribe, absolutely.
Yes, and so in a sense, DNA for a time took that away from you.
It didn't take it away from me. It gave me
did-
something.
But
It gave me my tribe, my biological tribe.
okay, so the question is, what's more important to
The relationship
a blood tie or tribal connection, or a group of people who cares for you and raised you, and what's more important?
That's a good question. In my case, it was the blood ties. I needed to know who I was a part of. Now, like you said, I had these relationships with these people, but I think there's something just innate in a person when you find out that they're not your true people. There's no blood tie there, okay, no biological tie. That I found my actual biological family. Now, that doesn't mean these other people are any less. Okay, I still have communications with them. I still love them. Okay, as much as I did before.
Yeah. So then, when you tell your story, how do you justify it? And when I say justify, not in a real sense, but like, how do you rationalize it in a sense where you said these people look just like me?
Because they did. Same complexion, everything.
So
they looked like they were
so
mixed.
the features, like
the physical features were very similar.
So then, how do you explain that?
I guess we all look alike.
Okay.
If you're mixed, we all look alike.
Right.
But the irony of all this, right, is, well, let's see. The people who are my biological family, and the people who I thought were my biological family, were all from the same town.
Yeah.
Same small town, and on the same side of town. You know, like where they put the blacks and the Italians. That's where my mom and my dad, my actual mother and my actual dad are from. Yeah. And the man I thought was my dad and the woman I thought were from that same.
So then another question comes up. You know, like particularly, I always bring it up to the culture I'm familiar with. I mean, there was a lot of people have like double families and all that kind of stuff, and uncles and all that kind of stuff. So, are there some family secrets that should stay hidden? Do you think there should be some family secrets that should stay hidden? If people die with those secrets and no one knows, I mean,
people who found their DNA and have reached out, they're skeletons in closets, and it's not pretty.
Yeah.
I think when you do the DNA, you open up a Pandora's box. So you never know what you're going to get. You might get a family that's open arms and they will embrace you on both sides, maternal and paternal. Or you'll find out that the mother had an affair. The man who raised you, your birth certificate dad, is not your biological dad. That opens up a whole can of worms. So you
don't really blame people who said, "I just want to keep this the family secrets. Let's let it die."
That's their choice.
Yeah. So there's
and then people take it to the grave.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with the reality. Okay. Yeah. But I think
for you needed to know.
I needed to know.
Yeah.
I needed to know because something inside wasn't being satisfied.
Yeah. And
so that has satisfied. But that also opened up when that happened. When I can remember standing in the kitchen one day, and it was like like a horse kicked me in the chest. That's the impact it had. I was like, lost my breath. I was like, what the hell? Because I felt like I lived a lie. Yeah. Through no fault of my own.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Right? And
but does DNA define who you are?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So
what it does is tells you who you belong to.
Yeah.
Biologically.
Yeah. Yeah. But to say you lived a lie.
I felt like that. Yeah, that's a strong statement to make.
What does that mean?
Well, because who could I have been had I grown up with my real family? How different could I have been? What kind of person would I have been had I grown up with my actual brothers and sisters or my actual mom? I don't know. There's a lot of good that came out because of the way I grew up.
Yeah, well, as a religious person, God has a place and space for you, and where He puts you is where you could probably make the most impact towards other people.
Okay. As much as I probably agree and disagree with it, I don't know how to respond to that one.
Okay.
Because that's like,
Yeah.
What do they call it? Providence or
yeah.
What is it? The word?
I don't know what you're looking for. Predestination.
Predestination is
what
I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy into that, but maybe.
And you wouldn't, and you wouldn't be the person you are, and your family wouldn't be the family they are if you.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
you know.
I mean, those experiences have
Yeah.
shaped me as to who I am. I did have some good people around me, even then as a teenager and a young adult. Actually, my mentor, I've mentioned to you, all the way up to his dying day, who was a really good role model for me and was very supportive of me trying to find my family. And it's
So you think if without DNA you would have never discovered who your true family is? Because I don't like to say true family because I believe, from my point of view, the true family is people who cares for you, who raised you, who make sure that all your needs are met. That's the true family.
I don't know. I disagree with that to a point.
How do you? I mean,
here's why I disagree, because I think a lot of times the woman who raised me, I give her credit. She went out to work today. She raised 2 kids on her own that weren't her biological kids. So I got to give her credit for that. The way she went about it, is definitely is with question, because she was just abusive. Both physically and now some of that physical abuse was kind of like at the times, people were getting whippings all the time. The difference between her and the rest of everybody, I didn't get whippings, I got beatings.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then.
So do you think that had a lot to do with your desire to find someone who was different than her?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, so if she would have been more loving, like you said, if she would have been more loving, do you think you would have had such a desire to find your?
I think I still would have wanted, but I think I think because of the way she treated me, gave my need to find my actual family more urgency.
Okay. Yeah.
Because all I could think of is, I need to get away from this woman. That's all I could think of. And I was old enough to think, and to say, someday I'm going to get out of here. The sooner the better. And to the point where I was old enough I could join the Navy and I was gone. And I left. Never went to her funeral and have yet to go to her grave.
Wow.
So, but I do respect the fact, and I am grateful for the fact that I was well fed, I had my own room, the clothes weren't always the newest, but they were always clean. So those basic things were there. But the love and, what's the other word, care, or nurturing, that was non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but that being said, the hardest part about my experience was.
Well, rush up and tell people actually what happened is you got your DNA test and you discovered.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah, the fun part now.
Yeah.
So we did the DNA, and so I reached out because, like I said, I didn't know any of these people that I matched with. So then I reached out to one of the matches who was a female, and I said, I did my DNA, and it looks like we're related, like first or second cousins. And then she responded, you need to talk to my dad. Her dad was a closer match.
Yeah.
And then, so I reached out to him. Next thing we're on the phone. He goes, okay, let me call you back in a day or two, and we'll. Let me ask some people, because he said when we talked later that he thought maybe I was on his dad's side, because his dad, which would have been my older sister's husband, was a womanizer.
Okay.
So, and then he said, and when he ended up talking to his mom, who was my oldest surviving sister.
Okay.
And she told him that no, he's your uncle. It's his uncle, and that I'm the child that our mother had given up at birth.
Wow.
So so then and then I reached out to my older brother who was on 23andMe, and we matched.
Oh wow.
As siblings. And so then the word got out in the family, like, he found us.
Yeah. So it was a family secret that they wanted.
Well, that's interesting too. I'm glad you brought that up. The family secret was I have 4 older sisters. There was a group, that my mom had, and they knew about me.
Yeah.
But the younger group, my older brother, my younger brother, and my youngest sister,
they
were never told them.
Oh, okay.
And the interesting part about that is my older brother's probably about 2 years old when I was born. So he was too young to understand or know anything that's going on. So they found out, and that caused a little bit of concern or consternation, if you want to call it, because they didn't know.
Yeah.
So once they found out, my older sister was kind of worried, like, what does he want? So I write this epistle and said, basically, I have my life. I'm not looking for anything from you. I only want my birthright, and that is to know my family.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you could be a multimillionaire, I would care less. Throw a couple dollars my way, that'd be fine. But I'm not gonna, not take it. But I'm not looking for anything. If you own property, I don't want it. I don't feel like I have. That's yours.
Yeah.
I got my life, and however good or bad it may be, that's my life. And so once I sent this letter to them.
So in a sense, DNA doesn't connect you to inheritance.
Not necessarily, no.
Why not? Because if you're part of the family, you're part of the family.
Okay, I think some people could push that if they're, a proper inheritance, and if it's like multimillionaires, and especially when one of the parents gave. I think they could. That's something. But see, for me, that's something that needs to be decided in court. So I don't have a judgment on whether it's that you have a right to that inheritance or not. Okay, that's not for me to say. They once they realize I don't want their stuff.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot anyway.
Yeah.
They're working class, blue collar people. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And but they open arms, and then that's just on my mom's side, right? On my dad's side, same thing. I reached out to them. Hey, sent out some more tests to find out who exactly my dad was. Because, there were like 13 siblings, and 5 of them were boys, my dad being one of them.
Uh-huh.
So we were trying to figure out which one of the brothers was my dad. So we were able to figure that out, not through DNA, pretty much, because I was able to locate one of his sisters who lived here in Los Angeles. She was by that time well into her 90s. But she agreed, my Nana Mickey, who you actually had the pleasure of meeting, took the test right away.
Yeah.
And I said, so which one of your brothers is my dad? And I said, which one played it? One of my sisters on my mom's side said he was a musician. So I asked my Nana, and I said, who was the musician? Oh, that was Clarence. That's your dad.
Wow.
Without doubt, no hesitation.
Uh-huh.
No hesitation. He passed away back in the 1970s, I believe. So, I was able to, in fact, yes, on Ancestry, I just saw something about that. So, was able to connect with both families, black and white, and now I have this great relationship with cousins on both sides of the family. In fact, I have an aunt who's 99 years old, my dad's only surviving sibling. She's 99, you wouldn't think she was a day over 80, and we talk. In fact, I got to call her this weekend. So I have my family, and they embraced me.
So in general, do you believe that DNA testing brought healing, or did it also bring division?
No.
Okay.
I mean, there's dysfunction on both sides of the family, okay? But for what it's worth, I don't have a problem with that, because every family has a certain level of dysfunction.
Yeah.
I love them both immensely, but the most important thing about the DNA is that it helped me fill a gap, to fill a void, and it helped me feel more complete as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I have a better feeling. I have a better feeling of who I am, where I come from. Okay, and that, oh God, that gives me a sense of peace.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at on that with the DNA. It means a lot. And the bottom line is, I joined a support group on Facebook. They were extremely helpful. There's a research group called DNA Angels. They were helpful in helping me deal with what I was going through, the emotional thing. And I'm very, very blessed with that, to the point where I recommend anybody who's looking or wants to take that step and do the DNA. It's like I said earlier, it's a Pandora's box. You never know what you're going to get. I'm one of the fortunate ones. I think that my results came out really good. The end story is I have my family. I'm happier. I'm happier than a pig laying in shit. I'm really, really happy. So, I'm serious. A lot of love. But there are also sad stories where people who, their family wants nothing to do with them. They still want to keep it a secret. And they still lie to themselves, and they lie to their families. And it's heartbreaking. But I think the bottom line, good or bad, when you do the DNA test, is that you find your truth.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think this particular podcast, although it was very personal to you and talk about your family, I think it has a broader concept for people to understand. You know, when you're looking at DNA and DNA testing, it could bring people together. Also, it can, separate people. But I think for the most part, it brings up questions. How do you really define a family? Do you define family by blood, or do you define it by who raised you? And we kind of talked about those kind of issues. Does knowing your ancestry make you appreciate your parents more or less, or does your relationship with your parents push you towards wanting to know who you are, where you come from?
And I think the answer to that is completely on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Because each person has their own journey and how they want to find out so they can navigate. Because, this is the first time I've navigated this life as far as I know.
Yeah.
So it's and so what's important to me may not be important to someone else.
Yeah.
For me, it was my bloodline. Because I needed to know that. So that way I can give that legacy to my children.
Yeah.
Because like I can tell you, my oldest children, I was like, yeah, you have a great grandpa that fought in the Civil War. Well, that turned out that's not true.
Yeah.
But now I know the truth is that my daughter's great grandfather, would be her great grandfather, yeah, was a miner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on both sides of my family, there were miners.
Wow.
In Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm very proud of that. And on my mom's side they were miners. On my dad's side they were miners.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. Hardworking people, scrapping, trying to make a buck, and trying to, support their families.
So I think we can conclude this particular podcast and say DNA testing is a choice that you make, and it's very personal. And it could be good, and it can be bad.
Yes.
But for the most part, if you want to know who you are, DNA testing's out there for you.
Yeah. And I guess it's not for everybody. But you had mentioned that you thought it was kind of skewed because of...
Well, I think the database, we were out of time, so maybe we'll mention this another time.
Okay.
I think the database is where they get the DNA testing from, where they do the comparisons, can be somewhat biased in the population that they're comparing and they're getting the research from. And so, and I kind of did a little stuff on that, but we'll talk about that another day, because this is more about you and your personal experience, and so we'll do that. So we'll argue about DNA another time. All right, so we'll see you next week, and have a good week.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us again. Hit the like button and subscribe. Have a good evening. See you next time.